If you're into AI filmmaking, then you need to understand camera movements. Static shot, zoom in, dolly out, tracking shot, just to name a few.
It's called Casual Friday.
I will show you 30 different shots and explain to you how to prompt them, when to use these, and what kind of intention each and every movement has. I'll also leave a link in the description down below with all of the assets with the prompts, including a prompt generator that you can use. So you don't have to pause this video, but you can just click the website, copy the prompt from there, and even customize the prompt to your own liking to get the exact shot that you want. To generate all of these examples, I've used Higgsfield, and the main models I used within that is Seedance and Kling. If you want to try this out yourself, I would highly recommend clicking the link in the description down below so you can get started. We're gonna start off with the basics. These are the simple type of shots that we all know, like static shots, pan shots, whip shots. You just might not know how to prompt them. If you were to think of the camera with these type of shots, then it's usually positioned on a tripod. And these are also the type of shots that you will be the first to learn if you are learning about filmmaking. So shot number one is a static shot. And you can play around with close-ups, medium, wide, or extreme close-ups. With a static shot, the camera stays completely still. The camera gears are locked and they don't move a millimeter. It forces the audience to focus on the subject without distraction. Even with those limitations, you're still able to create different types of shots, like close-ups, medium shots, and even wide shots.
How long do I have to sit here?
Next up, we got pan or whip pan. When you pan, the tripod stays still, but your camera on top of it moves from the left to the right, almost like someone is shaking their head no. This action allows you to scan the room, follow the action of a character that was or shows something that was previously off screen. Then we got tilt up or tilt down. Tilt up is similar to a pan, but instead of shaking your head no, you're yawning. You're nodding your head to say yes. You tilt up and down to show, for example, a tall building or showing someone's feet. It could be a character looking up to a giant that makes them look small and weak or defeated. Then we got zooms, and this is an interesting one because you got not only like zoom ins, zoom outs, but you also can play around with the way of how you zoom in or out. For example, you can do a slow zoom in to set the mood. You can do a fast zoom in, a crash zoom in. You can name it, there is a zoom for it. But the way you use the zoom in AI filmmaking really matters a lot when it comes to trying to portray the mood that you're trying to bring with that video. We're gonna start with a slow zoom in or a slow zoom out. When it comes to the slow zoom, it can build tension depending on how slow it is. It can make us focus on what the character is saying since we are slowly creeping towards them.
I was there, but I did not stop it.
The same also goes for the zoom out. It can make us disassociate them from the character or the subject that we're looking at. It can also show more of the environment, which makes our character less significant. If you're thinking about slow zoom ins, then obviously you also have to think about fast zooms. A fast zoom quickly changes the lens to bring the subject closer or push them away. It is quicker and more noticeable than a slow zoom, but not quite as aggressive as a crash zoom. Now here's an example of when you can use a zoom in. For example, in this scene where a character makes a sudden discovery or notices that something is wrong. Or when a character suddenly becomes vulnerable and gets a reality check or something unexpected happens suddenly. Next up, we have crash zooms. These are one of my favorites. This is a camera technique that is usually used in more of a comedic way, but still does and has a purpose in films that are a bit more serious, like Kill Bill for example. You would use a crash zoom in moments where a sudden overwhelming shock or a sudden realization or a comedic moment is happening, but also to increase the intensity and extra emphasis of what someone is saying.
All of it.
Now the crash zoom out is used to show a character or an object in a very absurd or chaotic wider environment. Maybe also as a comedic moment. For example, you have a guy in a suit, then punch out and see that he's not even wearing pants.
I don't see the problem. It's called Casual Friday.
Moving on, we need to talk about dolly shots, in particularly dolly in and out. At first, you might think that this is the same as a zoom in or a zoom out, but it is actually different. With a zoom in, the camera is standing in the same place and the lens is zooming in. With a dolly in or a dolly out, the camera is moving while the lens stays the same. This kind of dolly shots can create a realistic feeling where it feels like you're actually moving closer or leaving a character behind. So for example, when you're creeping in a hallway towards a figure that you do not know how to react to, it could lead to a jump scare. Or you would use a dolly out when a character is defeated, isolated, or lonely. It's similar to the zoom out, but this is maybe more intimate because it feels like you're actually leaving the character behind too. Next up, we got physical moves, and this is the part that Hollywood loves the most. These are the moves that require big crews, large budgets, and good camera equipment. Because these are shots where the camera is traveling physically from side to side, straight up and down, or it is sliding smoothly around an object or a person. You should imagine the camera moving on a track alongside with your character, walking around it, circling around it, or giving it you that three-dimensional feeling to it. The first physical movement that I like is a truck shot. This is where the camera is moving physically sideways in a straight line while pointing in the same direction, because it moves parallel to the environment. You can use this to travel alongside a moving character that is walking. The camera will track it smoothly and it will follow that character. Then we got pedestal up or pedestal down. Now this is basically where the camera is moving straight up and straight out without tilting its head. This could be used to show a character from his feet, then all the way to his head, and that could be used as a way to introduce that character. Then we got the slider shot. A slider shot is a short controlled slide from left to right or right to left, using a short reel that can be used to create a sliding effect in a tight space. For example, when a detective is leaning over a messy desk, while the slider slowly moves across the table with the evidence visible. Next up, we got push past or pass by shot. You use this when you want to enter a room or catch a character doing something that is hidden. For example, a mechanic works in a garage and the camera is pushing forward past the cables, the obstacles behind the lens as he pauses over the tools. Next up, we got arc shot. If you think about the arc shot, you also might think about orbiting shots. And these are quite similar. An orbit shot is where it turns fully 360 around the subject. With the arc shot, you stand at the back of your character and then he slowly shifts around your character to see their face, for example. The orbit shot is a bit more crazy. You show this to show a crazy action scene or to show a widely fantasy world, for example. Then we got subject camera movements. These are different variations of tracking shots. Now, movies are all about following characters on a journey. A tracking shot physically moves the camera to keep up with them. You can follow behind the character to build suspense, walk backward in front of them to see their facial expressions, or even aggressively chase them during a fast action scene. By moving at the exact same speed as your subject, the audience feels like they are right in the action. The tracking shot. A tracking shot is a shot that physically moves the camera through the scene. For example, when a chef is walking through a very crowded, busy restaurant kitchen, while the camera glides along with him, keeping him centered as he walks along the line of cooks who are cooking with hot pans on the side of the screen. Then you have the follow shot. This can also be the follow shot over the shoulder. This is when the camera is tracking behind the character's back after using an over-the-shoulder view. This forces the audience to see the world exactly how our character sees it. This is used to build suspense and curiosity. For example, a teenager is slowly walking down a dark, creaky basement staircase, and the camera falls closely behind his shoulder, making the audience feel like they're stepping down into the dark along with him. Next up, we got reverse tracking. Here, the camera is moving backward. It takes the same pace as the character that walks forward, and the camera is locked to the facial expression or forced to pay attention to their emotion. It could be a shot of a singular person or two people having a conversation. Then we got side tracking. This is when a subject is running or walking. Here, the camera is basically parallel to the subject, traveling sideways. This can be used in a situation where the character is running, for example, an athlete on track running as fast as he can. Then we got low tracking shots. Here, the camera is basically pointed to below the belt and is usually not focused on the eyes. For example, a cowboy is mysterious and walks until he's not alone, and we follow his steps while we are tracking his boots. Next up, vehicle tracking. Vehicle tracking is basically where we track a vehicle at high speed. A moving car, a motorcycle, a train, and this can be used during the travel scene, usually an action scene. Then chase shots. This is aggressive and messy. A graphic scramble to keep up with the unpredictable action, as if the camera is running behind trying to follow up the action as best as he can. Like when our hero is trying to escape from a terrifying beast like a bear or Bigfoot or whatever it is, and the camera is trying his best to follow up with the action. Then we got human camera movements, and these are some of my favorite because this, especially with AI, makes a video feel real. Like handheld shots, slight shakiness. You can feel that it is recorded by humans. And that is the kind of thing that when you have too polished of a zoom or like a slider shot where it will feel robotic or almost too smooth. With a human camera movement, it's the perfect way to show panic, dizziness, or a character losing control, for example. One of the most common is handheld shots. By letting the camera shake lightly, just like a person holding it, will make it feel more raw and realistic. This can be used to make a fictional scene feel more real. Or when a family is gathering around a kitchen table during a tense argument and the camera shakes lightly and shifts between the faces, making the viewer feel uncomfortable. You write that with them in the room. Then we have body-mounted camera, or SnorriCam. This is basically snapping the camera directly to the actor's chest, straight back at their face. Because the camera is locked to their torso, their head stays completely frozen in the center of the screen, while the entire background shakes violently around them. You can use this to illustrate hysteria or being drunk or being in a massive panic attack. For example, when a man is panicking inside a crowded, flashing nightclub as he stumbles towards the exit. Like Spider-Man also used a scene like this. Let's move on and go over to the big moves, aerial and crane shots. With these type of shots, you usually need expensive equipment like drones or even cranes. With AI, like all of these shots, it's a lot simpler to do. We're gonna start off with a crane up and a crane down. It is when you move the camera vertically through a space using a massive mechanical arm. That is what a crane is. The crane lifts up the audience away from your subject and can be used for the ending of a scene or a film, leaving behind the characters, showing a place around them. For example, when we have a traveler sitting on a train station bench, the camera lifts straight up into the air, rising above the station roof, revealing a massive city layout surrounding him. Then we have the drone. We can do a flyover, a push-in, a pullback, orbit, whatever you name it, you can do with the drone. When it comes to drone moves, those can be used for high altitude camera movements. Those moves are usually smooth unless you use FPV. They show off landscapes, but they can also be used to push towards an object. It can also go through tight spaces like windows or doors without the limitation of heavy ground gear. When you think of drones, you might also think of helicopter shots. When it comes to helicopter shots, they are like high altitude shots, but a bit more gradual and a bit more steady. They can be used for grand opening scenes, immediately establishing a massive set or environment, which you can fly over or show of a car driving away or even following a car. Let's end it off with special shots. Especially with AI, these shots are now easier than ever. We're talking about a first-person view, for example. This puts the lens exactly where the character's eyes would be. You can use this when you want the viewer to feel like they're seeing the world directly through that character's eyes. Then we have tilt shift. This is a neat visual effect that blurs the top and the bottom of the frame. It is used to make a real, full-size location feel exactly like a tiny model world. Tilt shift lenses are usually really expensive too, but of course, with AI, that doesn't apply to you. Infinite zoom. Here you would have to think of a continuous zoom that is inwards and that is never stopping. The camera's constantly zooming in into the next world. This is perfect to surreal reveals or dream sequences. Then we have Earth zoom out. Now this is one of those things that you might have seen on TikTok, but this shot is actually quite cool. This is where the camera is rapidly moving upward towards the sky. It is used to move from a small human moment or an object or a building all the way out to the city or country or the world. The last shot that is quite cool to use with AI is the time-lapse. A time-lapse usually will cost you a lot of time, but with AI you can make these super fast and easy. This is where the camera stays still and it is recording the same scene for a long amount of time. For example, see weather changes or crowd moving or light changes. When it takes like these short frames, it creates this super cool effect where you can see all of the movement if you speed it up, where it has recorded the entire day. So now you hopefully understand all the different camera movements that can be used in AI. If you want to try this out yourself, I will leave a link to Higgsfield in the description down below. Also make sure that you use the cheat sheet to help you generate these shots. You can just simply copy them and then you can use them yourself in any generation that you're planning to do. Make sure to click the video that's on the screen right now if you want to learn more about AI filmmaking.